We welcome you to episode number 7 of the Primetime Rundown Zoom interview series right here on the Eastern Observer and the Blackjack Media Networks, alongside my man Brendan Myers, former St. John's University Radio Network WSJU sports director. I'm Joey Jarzynka. We cannot thank him, along with all of our viewers, for joining us here on this rainy Monday evening here in the tri-state area. Brendan right now in New Jersey, myself on Long Island. Brendan, we cannot thank you enough for joining us, and it feels like an eternity since the last game that I was at with you, Madison Square Garden, Georgetown, St. John's. You and Kevin Connolly and Anthony Tornatore were on the call for that game, and obviously, we know what happened later on, but like I said, it feels like an eternity ago.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I was excited once you sent that invite my way. But the thing that I kind of put into perspective is that if that was going to be our last game, it was a pretty nice way to go out. I mean, that game was incredible. The 23-0 run to end the game, St. John's over Georgetown. I mean, the Garden was probably like 65% full, but you would have swore it was full with how loud the fans were. You were there, so that was a nice little way to wrap it all up, kind of, start to finish, coming full circle. Our buddy Troy from the Seeing Red podcast was there. Got to hang out with him a little bit. So if that was how we were going to go out, Joey, I'm okay with that.
I love it. I love to hear that. It actually gave me, a little bit of chills just now because, it's especially everything that's going on now. You put life into a different perspective, and you think about it. Certain things happen in mysterious ways, and especially what you said. We worked together at St. John's when I was a student. Now I could say the same thing for you. You're almost done, but it's crazy. Life really does come full circle, and especially our time at WSJU has officially come full circle. Brendan, I'm really glad to hear that your family is safe. You are safe. You're healthy, as is your family as well. But let's start into who Brendan Myers really is. And I know you are one of the hardest working people that I've ever met. And I don't say that lightly, because you know me with my real attitude. I'll tell you exactly how it is. I've said that from day one since we've met. And, I know exactly the work ethic that you have, and you don't give up. It's a winning attitude. You never, if you fall, you rise. Whenever you fall, you rise. You'll rise to the occasion, wherever it may be. And the amount of jobs that you've had over the past, which we'll get to. But also you have to start somewhere, and that's with St. John's. What made you choose to come to Queens?
Well, I mean, like a lot of people, I grew up playing sports competitively, but knew pretty quick. I mean, I was a solid athlete, but knew pretty quickly that, professional sports really wasn't the
Yeah.
really wasn't the journey for me. So I was like, how can I how can I make this a career? And, I was the nerd that was playing Madden 05, broadcasting the games on mute on my PlayStation 2. So all just stuff like that. So when it came to high school, I talked with my parents and stuff. I had, tendencies to like writing, but like not necessarily creative writing or anything, but, covering sports and the aspects of sports media. So, growing up in New Jersey, you just mentioned that I'm here. Didn't really make sense to leave this area. So I was like, what schools around here, media market and the media capital of the world, New York City, how can I make this work? So I considered some of the schools around me. Seton Hall was close. That was a close second for me. I considered Stony Brook out on the island by where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Ramapo, which is a smaller school out here in Jersey, good journalism program, and Montclair State, which is also by me. But I mean, you don't really know why, but kind of the second I stepped on campus at St. John's for a tour, something just clicked. And like I just said, if you asked me to tell you what it was, I wouldn't be able to. My dad will tell you it's because I was allured that Chris Mullen recruited me there. Just the idea that he was the coach there. But I'll deny that. I'm going to say no. So I'm the forgotten Chris Mullen recruit, but people don't talk about me.
Oh, boy.
But just kind of, it made sense that if I wanted to be in journalism, I really wasn't that familiar with the city. So going to school in Queens and getting familiar with all the media opportunities there, it just kind of made sense. And basically 4 years later, I think I made the right decision.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. You made the right decision, because not only where you relocated to, at St. John's, and you were, if I'm not mistaken, did you commute?
No, I dormed all 4 years.
You dormed all 4 years. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So
God, driving over the GWB every day I would have transferred real quick if I
well,
commuted.
I mean, hey, you got to look at, your former partner over there, Anthony Tornatori, would travel from Yonkers every single day to Queens. So, hey, listen,
Yeah, and we heard our fair share of complaints about the Throgs Neck Bridge. So
yeah, well, that's for sure. And not only that too, I remember when I was commuting, there would be times when it would take me 2.5 hours to get home.
oh,
And
I'm
that's just
sure.
on a regular day, leaving at like 4 o'clock. It's absolutely insane. So for you, I can't even imagine. So you definitely made the right choice. But from the standpoint of choosing your school, and to think about the media schools, the broadcasting schools, such as, the usuals of Syracuse, of Northwestern, um, you know, what was it that made you stay home and not go away to be in the or under the umbrella of other, I would say, known people? You wanted to take your own path, I would assume.
Yeah, well, for one, I can't stand Syracuse. Don't know why. It's just a school that rubbed me the wrong way. Um, I have a certain attitude about Syracuse and their athletic department, and just never like their teams growing up. That's really what it comes down to. It's got nothing to do with the people there or anything. So I want to make that clear. And Northwestern, some of these other great programs, I was kind of hell bent on saying I want to work in the New York City area. I don't want to make all my connections out there in the Midwest. And I know they have a ton of people at ESPN and highly successful people, but it just felt, I kind of wanted to do it my own way, and I went to St. John's. And the final four, as I just mentioned, I eliminated Montclair and Ramapo, strictly great programs, but I wanted the access to the Division One sports, and the fact that I could go to St. John's or Seton Hall if I decided to go that route and broadcast Division One sporting events was something that to me was a unique opportunity that I would have been able to do pretty close to home. Because I mean, St. John's is really only 40 miles from my house. Sometimes it'll take you 3.5 hours to get there, but at the end of the day, it's close. So that was a big thing. I didn't really want to travel too far. It was open to living at school, but didn't want to have to get on a plane or 8-hour car ride. That was pretty important to me. But at the end of the day, and it ended up working out for me really well, was the ability to have access to those Division One sporting events was something that I couldn't turn down. And looking now, broadcasting in Madison Square Garden, Big East tournament, all that stuff, the arenas we got to go to. I mean, it really was a dream come true. And the fact that it got kind of yanked away at the end, that we lost a semester of baseball, I definitely took it for granted. And you kind of said, oh, there's always next year, but now there's not. And that's something that you have to come to terms with, but you just got to put it all into perspective. It's don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened situation.
That actually, Brendan, and I'm looking at myself right now, and I just got chills the way you said that. No, and I'm dead serious, because again, this is supposed to be a positive, uplifting interview show, or series rather. And the people that are watching here, this is supposed to be an escape from everything that's going on. And just to hear about someone special in my life, or that has made an impact in my life, and obviously you are on here because of that. And it's it, you said it. Again, and I can't emphasize this or stress this enough. It's the perspective. It's you don't cry that it's over, but because it happened, it's looking at, and I actually asked Anthony Tornatori this, and because you are a senior, not being able to broadcast at Jack Kaiser Stadium this year, or even baseball at all, your senior year. So I don't want to say you were robbed of it, you were stripped of it. It was an involuntary decision that was made way above your head, way
Right.
above anyone's head. But that would have been double-digit games and potentially a trip to Cincinnati, for you guys. And when I say for you guys, I mean, 2 or 3 of you, or all, whatever it may be. And how did that feel that night when it was official that was not happening anymore? Those games were stripped from you. It was like almost like pulling something out of your chest, like a heart out of your chest.
Yeah, well, I think Anthony and Kevin both kind of said it in their interviews that it sucks in the moment. There's no, you can't beat around the bush, but Anthony, Kevin, and I had planned. They were playing Creighton in the 3 days leading up to graduation. So cream of the crop, Big East program. So that would have been one heck of a way to go out as our final broadcast, going up against Creighton. The Saturday before graduation, which would have been a ton of fun. So the fact that we won't get to do that obviously hurts. But I mean, the memories that the three of us had is something that I wouldn't trade in for a lifetime. And that's just kind of, I choose to look at it as a glass half full kind of situation, because you could play the what if game all day. And when things get canceled and you lose out on baseball season because of this pandemic, you're kind of like, oh, well, what if I did a soccer game that weekend when I said I couldn't? Should I have pushed harder to get a board operator on this day? And you just kind of start thinking about that, and you keep playing the what if game. So I'm just choosing to look at it glass half full and say I did get 2.5 baseball seasons during my time at St. John's, and memories that you wouldn't trade in for the world. So that's how I'm going to choose to look at it. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't sad in the beginning, because it was robbed. It'd be one thing if I was in Queens right now, so, and you know what, I'm not really up for broadcasting today, which is something that I really wouldn't say to begin with, but it'd be kind of a different story. But just trying to remain positive and say, look at what we did do in these 3.5 years.
Now, while you were at St. John's and with WSJU, you have gone to multiple arenas. Georgetown, the Capital One Arena. I believe you did go there, right?
I was not there for that trip.
You were not there. So
Had
you
some
did
family stuff.
Okay, so you were at, I believe you did go to Finneran, the pavilion. Okay, so you were at Finneran Pavilion. You also went to, I know for a fact, because we had this whole laugh about it, when you guys went to Providence, to the Dunkin' Donuts Center. So the places that you have gone to during, while with St. John's and with the radio station, what was your most favorite memory or favorite game, broadcasting or even working a game?
All right, so that's going to be tough. The history, or not the history, but the atmosphere of Finneran's tough to go against. You walk in, you got the Final Four, half court logo, I guess is the best way to put it. You get to keep it if you win. So that was cool walking in there. But I don't know if I've told you this. Anthony and Kevin definitely know. I'm a closet Providence fan. Love what Ed Cooley does up there in Friartown. So getting to go up there, broadcast the game at the Dunkin' Donuts Center, middle of the week, 8:00 tip off, students were there, plastered, like it was an authentic college basketball experience, to say the least, which definitely made for a troubling broadcast. I was doing play-by-play that night, so I probably apologized, 75 times. And, this is not us with the profanities on the air, because, I mean, like for me, to my laptop screen is probably how far away the student section was. So they were having some fun at us. I'll use that term generously there.
Right.
But things definitely got a little heated because they were trying to interfere with it. But also the game was incredible. Luwan Pimpkins hitting the turnaround elbow jumper as a shot clock expiring is probably my favorite call I have from my 3.5 years at WSJU. So getting to do that, but just being in the presence of Ed Cooley at the Dunkin' Donuts Center, it's a team. Even when they were struggling at the beginning of the season, I was like, they're going to figure it out. They're going to figure it out. And I think they figured it out, Joey.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they did. And not only that too, when you have losses against a team like Long Beach, Long Beach State, and then you have
College of Charleston.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And then I believe they I don't remember with Northwestern. I believe they lost to them as well.
I think so.
Yeah. So, when you have schools like that where, and they're also supposed to go out to or to the Wooden Classic, out or not, was it the Wooden Classic or was it the whichever classic it was out in Anaheim.
Mhm.
They lost. I believe they lost all 3 games, and there were talks where they could finish at the bottom, and then they'd come up to to play the 4-5 game, or should have played the 4-5 game right after that St. John's and Creighton game on that Thursday. But again, we know how that all played out.
Mhm.
So let's look to the academic side of things at your time with your time at St. John's. Now, with everything being transferred over to online and remote learning, Brendan, have you ever done online classes, and do you prefer them as opposed to in-person learning?
I've done online classes in the sense that the teacher, you log on Sunday, there's a lesson plan and there's work for you to do throughout the course of the week. I have not done the online classes where you're literally having class from your house. You're logging on twice a week to WebEx and doing stuff like that. I personally find myself getting distracted during class.
Yeah.
I kind of need to be in the classroom to be focused, but I definitely prefer, if I'm gonna choose to be like in those lectures where I have to be on at a certain time, definitely would prefer to be at school because that's just where I can focus better. But as far as those online classes that you work, you have a workload for the week, those aren't too bad for me. But I would definitely prefer to be over there in Queens finishing up right now, no doubt
Right.
about
Right. Yeah. And also because especially with the online courses too, and I remember I took them in my last semester. I think it was
it. Right.
like the final 9 credits was all online for me, those 3 classes. And I remember when they would allocate a certain amount of work for the week, you can, you've developed those time management skills where, you're able to, set aside certain amount of hours per day to
Mhm.
work on this and that and et cetera, whatever the case may be. But yeah, no, I mean, if it wasn't for the traffic, I most likely would have taken, and I guess for the mileage and for whatever other
Right.
circumstances there were, I
Commuter
would probably,
problems.
right. Yeah, exactly. I would have probably been on campus more. And
Yeah.
obviously, in addition to, us traveling and everything like that, and traveling for almost every single drivable game, you just gotta, I guess, take it whatever with a grain of salt, I guess. Now, when again sticking with the academic side of things, and when the president of St. John sent out an email, President Bobby Gempesaw, Conrado Bobby Gempesaw, when he wrote down in that email saying that graduation was officially canceled, walking is not a possibility. The Friday in May, I believe it was in 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, or the second Friday in May, or whatever that Friday is, or
I think
Sunday,
it was
or
on a
what.
Sunday. Sunday,
So
yeah,
okay, so
Sunday.
Sunday, yeah. Um,
If there's a Sunday the 17th, that
right,
sounds right.
yeah, yeah, that is true. Especially for college and professional studies.
Mhm.
Um, eh, it's so hard for me to even get the words out because I don't really know how it feels. I know I chose not to walk. That was just me. Because I just didn't think that it was necessary. But now I look at it and I say to myself, well, maybe I should have, because of, you get to do whatever. You get to obviously show off that you have, this $100,000 piece of paper. You did it. Yay. You get to show your family, I achieved this. I did this. But now we look at, students like you in the class of 2020. And it's to be told that you can't walk when you have worked, sweat, sweat, tears, everything, and you've put it all into this that now will be mailed to you, which most likely would have been mailed anyway. But now that you can't walk in front of your family, your friends, your fellow peers at St. John's, your fellow classmates at St. John's, now how hard did that hurt you, as opposed to being told you can't broadcast another game for the rest of the year and for the rest of your collegiate career?
I'd say not being able to broadcast definitely hurt me more because it was something that I really loved doing. And now I have a few thoughts on graduation. I mean, I read the email, obviously knew they really didn't have another choice, to be completely honest.
Right.
Like I kind of saw it coming down the pipeline. So it wasn't exactly a surprise. Um, Actually walking in the graduation ceremony didn't mean a ton to me. And that's me personally, just like you spoke for you personally. I'm not, it does mean a lot to a lot of people, and it's very, very important to a lot of people. And I
Right.
understand that. But for me, walking across the stage, having the moment wasn't necessarily that important. But what I was a little bit upset about, like me, Kevin, and Anthony couldn't, just hang out at graduation for a little bit with our families and stuff like that. Talk about some of the memories that we had. So more seeing the people on the day of graduation was what hurt the most. But also on a little bit lighter note, I was a part of the President's Society, and one of the
Oh,
trade-offs of that is that your family gets preferred seating. So worked hard for that. Family was
yeah.
going to get nice and close, and
Yeah.
then now nobody's getting close. So
Right. Yeah.
so again, is it in the grand scheme of things, is that important at all? No, but it was like they were going to get preferred seating. So
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously with the last name Myers being in the middle of the pack, they would have still had to wait a little bit for, to see you walk across the stage. But again, just to see what you've done, and I honestly did not know that's how you felt about walking across the stage, that that the um that the memories was a lot more important, because exactly what we both said is that a lot of people, um some actually do it for their families.
right. And like St. John's is certainly a school where you have a lot of first generation college graduates. It is very important to a lot of people. And that's why I'm just speaking personally.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with, graduation and the ceremony being important to you. It's a personal feeling.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and you know what? And I will speak for Mike Slavitt. Actually, I remember he did it because of his extended family, and I remember I think it was his mom, or maybe his grandmother or something like that. What I remember, I think it was he wasn't really too thrilled of walking either, but he was told to because his family really wanted to see him walk, and he was like, all
Right.
right. And obviously, Mike, he just goes with the flow or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just it's everyone, and every person's family, obviously, a different say or a
Right.
different opinion that goes in either in one ear and out the other, or they absorb it, or whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
Now, Brendan, with your plethora of jobs, this is the moment that I think we've all been waiting for. 23 minutes past the top of the hour, and it is astonishing what a resume that you have put together thus far. And if I'm not mistaken, you just turned 22. Okay, right.
You are
Okay, good.
correct.
All right, good. So yeah, so I had to at that. Okay, good. Yeah, same exact age as my younger cousin. So with this job search that you say,
Yeah.
once you discuss, we actually spoke about that off camera, but the amount of jobs that you had, people might not feel bad for you because of the amount of experience that you already bring to this, today, and also to what's today, April 27th. What you have accrued up to today is beyond what people accrue in a lifetime in this industry. And it's because obviously you've worked hard, but also because you're blessed with what you have, who you have around you, etc. It is how it is. So when you were younger, Brendan, this goes way back, and I remember you spoke about this when we first met. And I remember you were a broadcasting intern with the New Jersey Jackals.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and when you did that, I believe you called a few games. Tell
I
us a
did.
little bit about that time, or that experience in, I believe, Somerset.
New Jersey Jackals. So
Right.
Montclair, New Jersey.
Montclair. Okay. All right.
Montclair.
Close.
Yeah.
Not even
Somerset
close.
Patriots is a little bit different. They're a
Okay.
little bit we'll say higher up the pecking order.
I gotcha. Okay.
But I mean, there is nothing like minor league baseball. Like just because like one as broadcasting interns, we were pretty much confined to the press box. But if it was raining, we were down there on the field pulling tarp, and that's something very unique to the minor leagues. You have a professional groundskeeping staff up in the major leagues, so it was certainly a unique experience. Asked to do a lot of different things, but that season was a lot of work, obviously, because baseball is naturally, games are 3.5 hours. You'd be there 3.5 hours before, and you don't know how long you're going to be there after the game. That's for sure. But that season was a ton of fun because that was the year that Matt Latos was on the Jackals. So he would just kick it with us in the press box, tell us all stories about different guys in the major leagues, which almost made the internship worth it in and of itself. But as far as broadcasting experience, my boss, the broadcasting director, he's a guy named Alex Camerata. Absolutely terrific guy to work for. He's on the younger side, a great broadcaster. Hope to see him moving up the ranks as we speak, but learned a lot from him. And what we would do is there were, I think, 9 broadcasting interns, and there were other jobs to do in the press box, stats, video board, scoreboard, stuff like that. So there would be a different schedule each day. And if you were on the broadcast for the day, you would take 3 innings of play-by-play in the middle of the game, and then our boss Alex would do the first 3 innings and the last 3 innings of play-by-play. But the most unique experience of that summer for me was a guy named Edouard Lopez, a former Tampa Bay Rays prospect, threw a no-hitter that I was on the call for. Didn't get to call the 9th inning, which would have been nice, but you get to call 4, 5, and 6 of a no-hitter. That's something that's a unique experience. There's MLB broadcasters that have been around the game 35, 40 years that have never gotten to call a no-hitter. So for the fact that I was there one summer and got to be part of a no-hitter broadcast was something that I'll certainly never forget. But what I tried to do in my career path is obviously you want to work for the big guys and the major leagues, but I'm a freshman and sophomore in college, not a ton of experience other than writing for some online sites. So I got to be realistic about where I want to start. Again, you're talking about blessed with what I have with. I'm lucky that here in New Jersey, there's a bunch of different sporting teams around us that are all within driving distance. So you do have the Somerset Patriots that are like 40 minutes away from me, but the Jackals are, 20 minutes away from me in Montclair, Little Falls, that area. So the fact that I was able to apply for them, I was lucky enough to be able to take an unpaid internship. I was working at the time, also working during the day, and then doing the Jackals at night. And if there was a conflict, my bosses at my other job were very cool about it. They let me, take off from my other job to work the internship with the Jackals. So again, it's just being thankful, that I was put in the position that I was put in.
Yeah, exactly how you said it, where you're within driving distance, because you think about it, and there's a lot of people like near St. John's, or even where Anthony Tornatore lives up in Yonkers. Or even where I am too, out on Long Island, where really all you have are the Long Island Ducks. You have the Ducks,
Mm-hmm.
you have Stony Brook, you have Hofstra. But in terms of minor league baseball, it's the Ducks or nothing.
Right.
You have obviously, you have Somerset, you have the aforementioned Jackals. But if I'm not mistaken, I think there's also another team up in Sussex County, which is straight up north, near the New York and New Jersey border, way north, I think.
Sussex County Miners, which is the same owner as the Jackals.
Okay, well, I did not know that. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so small world there, and that is
Mm-hmm.
pretty good. So in case anyone wants a job in the Frontier League, that's where you should definitely take a peek at, in New Jersey, if you are in the New Jersey area and want to follow Brendan's footsteps.
I don't know why you would want to do that.
Well, I mean, with the jobs that I'm about to tell our viewers that you have been blessed to have, I think they might want to. You've also been a part of the website Fansided, writing for the New York Giants. You've also been a part of Rumble in the Garden,
Yes.
SB Nation for writing for St. John's University for basketball. You were also a media assets intern. You were also a New York Jets communications intern as well. And to top it all off, you were a sports production intern at Sirius XM Satellite Radio. Now, And on top of it, hold on, we're not done yet. Here's drum roll, please. You were at when you were at St. John's, and just I believe it was during your time with WSJU, you were also the assistant sports editor, and then eventually promoted to being sports editor.
Oh
So
yeah.
that is, and I think that took about a full minute to say that, because again, those are things, that is 7 things that I just read off. And if I'm not mistaken, I think, Brendan, according to your LinkedIn page, you also had a job back in 2013 writing for high school sports when you were in high school.
Yeah.
So
It's just you just got to find different things, and you just kind of have to carve out your niche and figure it out. I'll always credit Norman Rose and Rumble in the Garden, because I reached out and I said, I'm a freshman or sophomore here at St. John's. Is there any opportunities for me to write? And he basically said, here's a couple of things going on. I want to basically test your writing skills and send in a story about it. So I did. He gave me a start. He was very generous with the amount of articles that he was giving me. I got a lot of bylines up there, and from then you're basically building from the foundation there, and you keep working up. Like, I don't think I get any of that stuff without starting at SB Nation with Rumble in the Garden, and then the Torch and WSJU. So you just keep building, and I think one thing that kind of was taught to me at an early age by my parents is that no task is beneath you, and you just do whatever you can get your hands on. And that's something that I try to, it doesn't matter if it's the most trivial thing at any of the jobs that I've had. And I think that helps me gain good favor with my bosses, is that I do whatever's asked of me. It doesn't matter if it's, pertaining to the job description or not.
now, and you know what? A lot of people tell me, within the broadcasting business, or even just in sports in general, being in this business for myself for almost 6 years now, which is honestly a sick, you think of it, and it's like a sick joke. And when you get to be my age, you're going to say the same thing. Where did the time go? When you were with, or actually, let me finish what I was saying there. I got a little sidetracked. Never say no to an opportunity for certain things. Never say no to an opportunity. Always test the waters, if you will, because you never know who you're going to meet. You never know what you're going to do that could, raise eyebrows in a positive way for maybe a boss, for a coworker, whoever it is. And that person may just know somebody else that could be helpful to you. And then you can, possibly get a job, or get a raise, or potentially, get promoted somewhere within a select, or within a business, or within an organization, etc., wherever it may be.
Well, now that you say that, you got to let me share a story real quick.
Let's hear it. Hey,
I
listen.
have a perfect story for that.
Let's hear it.
So I'm finishing up my internship at MSG Networks, spring of junior year. And I had just interviewed for that aforementioned internship with the Jets, which was supposed to take place over the summer. So it's one of my last days at MSG. So my boss says, you know what, we're going to go out for lunch, take you out. I appreciate all the hard work you've done. And I like to take the interns out for lunch on their last day. So I was like, okay, cool. So another guy who I had some dealing with at MSG, but not a ton. He worked in a different department, but him and my boss were good friends. So he's like, you know what, I'm going to come out for lunch with you guys today. So I was like, okay, cool. The more the merrier. So we go out, and he asked me, he goes, Brennan, what are your plans for the summer? And I go, oh, well, I'm not too sure yet. Nothing finalized. I just applied for an internship with the Jets. I interviewed a couple days ago. And he's like, who'd you interview with? So I gave him the names of the people I interviewed with. And he's like, I don't know them, but I know a couple other people in one of their departments. I'm going to go put in a good word for you. So he comes back to our office, 25 minutes after we got back from lunch. And he's like, they really liked your interview. You're one of the finalists, I put in a good word. So I think that just goes to show that you treat everybody the way you want to be treated, because, had I been a jerk to that guy or not done the couple of things that he'd asked me to do, he'd have a much different opinion, and probably wouldn't have been willing to lend a hand when he heard that I was up for another internship.
Right. And you know what? I will tell you this. I am guilty of doing said things. Never being a jerk, but there have been times, because I have done things within soccer, at St. John's or wherever, that because this industry is such cutthroat for everybody, you have to take advantage of that. And like I said, I'm guilty of it. There's one Major League Baseball scout. I won't name him on here because I am in partnership with them, but he knows exactly who he is. He told me to write for his magazine, and I didn't take advantage of it. And the reason why is because a former professor of mine in Mark Ernay, 1010 Win sports director, and also a former professor of yours, I believe.
Current professor of mine.
Current professor, exactly. So I'd love to sit in on one of those classes. But all joking aside, though, was that he actually recommended me for my current job at St. Francis College in Brooklyn. And right then and there, just a few days later, I was hired at St. Francis, and I did not text or even call said scout for almost 7 months. Now, that's bad. That's bad. And never do what I did. Do what Brendan did. You have to make sure that you follow up with these people. You have to make sure that you stay in contact, especially if you know them, and you want to get further in the business. But exactly what you said, make sure you're not a jerk. Make sure you never forget about them. And obviously, yeah, this guy remembered me and everything like that, but it doesn't matter. Now I have to work 10 times harder to get to where I want to get to because I didn't do whatever little thing that could have propelled me to be in a major league organization. You never know.
Yeah, there's a quote that I like to live by, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but you meet people twice in your life, once on your way up and once on your way down.
That's right.
So it shouldn't matter where you are. You just always treat people right. And then if you're on your way up, you treat them right. And then if, God forbid, you're on your way down or in some kind of, tough part of your career, they'll be more willing to help you if you treated them right on your way up.
Now, yeah, that is again, another thing with chills, because that really, if I would have taken that advice, who knows? Now, when you were with the Jets and you were a communications intern, what were the differences between your time working in minor league baseball as opposed, obviously you've never worked in Major League Baseball, but you now work on a professional sports team for them, rather. What's the difference between working in the Frontier or the Can-Am League at the time?
Yeah, which I think they just merged with the Frontier League.
Right. Yes.
I think they merged.
Yes, they did. Yeah. So now they're known as the One Big Frontier League.
Yeah.
So to again make to long story short, how is it? What's the difference between minor league baseball and the NFL?
You're going from minor league baseball, where we were lucky if there was one media member covering the team in the press box, to, the Jets and the most scrutinized media market in the country, and for what I'm concerned, within the world. So you're dealing with I don't want to say stress, but there's a lot more scrutiny and a lot more pressure on the team. The relationship between the players and the executives who I got to meet at the Jets is a lot more strained. It's not as smooth, because there are writers that are very critical of the Jets. So just learning how to deal and act professional with people, even in the most high tense and high stress times, was something that I'll never forget. I mean, that experience at the Jets was, I can't even put it into words. I was so lucky to get that opportunity and to get to learn, because it was an NFL organization that took a chance on me and I got to spend training camp learning about media relations in, again, as far as I'm concerned, the most scrutinized media market in the world.
Yeah, it is. And we know, because we've been with, and that's actually a perfect segue, Brendan, because we've worked with St. John's and their athletic department. To, I guess, add to that, to those 7 jobs that you've had, let's add an 8th. This would be another internship for you, where you've worked within the athletic communications department. You have seen what interns do. You were one. You've seen what sports information directors do. So you kind of get a taste of what I do. Thankfully, it's not on the level as what St. John's or Seton Hall has to deal with, because I don't even know if I'd be able to deal with that myself. But you've seen exactly how these media members, again, cutthroat. They go directly for that answer. They go for your head almost. It's they want the answers. Not only do they want the answers, but they ask the craziest questions that really surprisingly make sense, that might not make sense, in the middle of the country to those media members, but they ask very tough questions. And especially for St. John's, who went through let's put it lightly, a little bit of a dysfunctional transition from Chris Mullen to Mike Anderson. Obviously you're going to get every single media member that covers the aforementioned Red Storm. Now you get to see what it's like on the other side, where you're transcribing quotes. I don't know. I don't think you wrote. Did you write any stories? Did you, or even or contribute maybe into any of the stuff? Or
no, all the written stuff I did was for the Torch.
Okay.
Nothing for St. John's Athletics.
Okay. So with that being said, now you get to see from both sides of it, even again from almost three different levels. You see it from the NCAA level. You see it from minor league baseball. You literally saw it the way that it is in order. And you see how these media members, they're not that nice. They want the answers, and they want it for their for their story, for their viewers, for their listeners, whoever it may be. But while you were with the Athletic Communications, I saw you were a runner. You also did, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Anthony Tornatore said this, that the two of you began to learn Genius Sports.
Oh yeah, you want to see a dynamic duo? Watch me and Anthony on Genius Sports.
Listen, I can tell you one thing is that doing Genius Sports is one of the hardest things to do, especially for basketball. Did you ever do it for soccer or for volleyball?
No.
Oh,
okay. Only for women's basketball. And you should have seen me the first time I did it. Joey, I swear 7 seconds into the game, I was 3 plays behind. I had to have the other intern, Mike, come in and save me. Thank God for him. I don't know what I would have done. Thank God it was a practice computer, because if those were the official stats, that game would not have been tracked.
and not only that, also Joe Tartamello would have had your head. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's safe to say that would have been my last day as a game day intern for St. John's Athletics.
Yeah. So now, just to describe obviously a little bit about your time with Athletic Communications and being able to have that all access within the locker room, being able to do some minor things, with Genius Sports, with transcribing quotes, being a statistics runner for all the games at Carnesecca Arena, and also being able to get that backstage, if you will, pass for Madison Square Garden. It's how did that help you? Not only help you, but what was that experience like for you, being a part of a Division I college program, and how did that help you? Or how did the past experience from minor league baseball and the NFL transition into here, or did it help you in any way? Or
well, my internship with the Jackals didn't have a ton to do with media relations, strictly for the fact that there wasn't a ton of media covering it. So St. John's really was my first media relations, communications type experience. I know the Jackals was called communications intern, but I guess that was just a formality. But for me, growing up, college sports and Division I college sports was always kind of where my heart was. Like, obviously I love professional sports, but there's something special about college football. Obviously St. John's doesn't have it, but there's also something really special about Division I college basketball. So I know it was our journalism professor, Michael Rizzo, who leads the journalism program at St. John's. He sent an email to a couple of us, and he said the athletic department's looking for some game day help. I was working at MSG Networks at the time, so I couldn't take like internship for credit, which is what he was recommending. So I reached out to one of the guys at St. John's Athletics, Andrew, and I was like, look, like I'm really interested, but I don't know how many hours I could commit to this because I'm working. And he said, listen, man, if you're not doing it for credit, just come when you can. And I'm so thankful that he did give me that opportunity, because Anthony and I, we had so much fun. We learned so much being up close and personal, just getting to see kind of how a major Division I athletic event runs. And you get to see a little bit, even not communications, you get to see how the marketing department functions behind the scenes, how some of the game day crews function behind the scenes, which I think just makes you more marketable when you're looking for job candidates. I could say that, I did not participate in their marketing promotions and their strategies, but just saw what they were doing and took note and said, this is how they're conducting themselves. And then, I think one thing that is unique about sports and this industry is you hear college football players talk about it all the time when they go to the NFL, that the speed in which the game moves is tremendous. So I think getting that experience in college sports and the speed that which the communications aspects of it moves really preps you. So then, you do have that foundation. I was lucky enough to work for the Jets, but the fact that I had the foundation of communications, I think really helped me. And I'm forever thankful to the staff members of St. John's athletic department for essentially, they really took a chance on me. Like they had no reason to think that, I was going to turn out to be a reliable intern. So for them to take a chance on me and for them to give me the opportunity to do some of the things that I and Anthony did, it's something I'm always be thankful for.
Yeah, and you said it, because it's the speed. And I know that when I went from St. John's to St. Francis, the speed, we slowed down a lot, because when you're going from a school, coming from a school in the Big East and going to a school in the Northeast Conference, everything is completely slower. So the way it is for you, and you said it, you came from the New York Jets in the National Football League. So you want to talk about fast. Putting, quoting you, in one of the most scrutinized media markets in the country, or even arguably the world, and you're dealing with the New York Football Jets, you now can say, well, I worked in one of the fastest environments in all of professional sports. So now St. John's is going to be cake. Well, you know what? I can actually relate, because it's exactly the same thing what's going on here. And I remember when I first got there in December of 2018, it is so fast, or that's what I thought it was. And then when you slow it down, they're looking at you like, why are you going so fast? I don't know. That's just what I'm used to. And I'm sure that's probably, did you feel like that at all when you'd be running around doing a whole bunch of stuff, and it's a lot slower in college sports?
It's tough because I don't want to say that it moved fast, but like something about sports is that people don't take no for an answer, right?
Right.
Like Chris Mullen does not care that the copier in the athletic communications office is broken. He needs his final stat books to get to the press conference so he can talk to the media. So I think what you learn how to do is, and I think when I mean the speed, I just mean thinking on the fly. Right. And when something goes wrong, you kind of always have to have a plan B.
Like improvise, yeah.
Yeah, we would be hand stapling the statistics book because the stapler in the copier was broken. Again, the world's smallest violin. It's not a big problem at the end of the day, but you just learn how to. And when things don't go wrong, you need to be able to think quickly. And I think that's something very unique to the sports industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the speed, and it's the you have to do what you have to do, and you have to do it in a timely fashion, because if you miss them, and if you're not on time, if you're if even a few seconds behind or even ahead, wherever it may be, the whole project, the whole job, whatever it may be, could be compromised because of that. Now let's see this. And we actually were texting earlier today, and I will ask you this. So you were, and I did not say, and I do apologize, when Brendan was talking about MSG Networks, I did not say media assets intern was with MSG Networks, and working with the Madison Square Garden companies. Now, under the same umbrella, you're a diehard Knicks fan. God help you. Now, and I wrote down here on our little prompt here, say no more. Well, just to look now as a Knicks fan and just general conversation, Brendan, is there anything, are we ever going to see anything positive with the Knicks? And I see your facial expression like, do you really got to talk about the Knicks? But I just want to see your thought about your former employer's team, who's also happens to be one of your most favorite teams that you root for.
Well, it remains to be seen. Obviously, you just bring in Leon Rose. They go with the agent route. Obviously, worked for Golden State. To a lesser extent, it's worked for your Lakers with Rob Pelinka, but things have not gone smooth there, and things were not always smooth with him and Magic Johnson. So, we'll see what Leon Rose can do. One thing that I need to see from the Knicks is are they finally going to commit to the young players? They have talented young players. Frank Milikina is a guy that I get made fun of a lot. I'm part of the Frank Hive, always defending him. I think he could be, but I'm not unrealistic. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but he could be a starting point guard or starting two guard on a good basketball team, and that's something that I will not shy away from. I think Damian Dotson was a great second round pick. Obviously, then Mitchell Robinson, RJ Barrett coming in, and then Kevin Knox obviously came in with Mitchell Robinson. You need to see more from Kevin Knox. He's probably the biggest question mark over those names. But one thing with the Knicks is whether they decide to go with Mike Miller, keep him on as the full-time head coach. He's interim right now. They need to get somebody who has a clear plan, because the Knicks have been caught in between of, we'll try to win, but we'll also try to develop the young guys at the same time. It doesn't work like that. And right now, Knicks fans didn't want to see Wayne Ellington playing, 26, 28 minutes a game, and Frank and RJ Barrett in the backcourt, playing, 12 or 14. Like, it's not what they want. If the Knicks are going to lose, Knicks fans want to lose with the young guys. Like, I think that's a universal truth. I don't know who would argue that. And if they want to go win now, they need to get the superstars in, and they need to change the narrative about it and get those meetings with the free agents. They never even got a meeting with Kemba Walker or Kawhi Leonard right now. And again, I'm tired of seeing the reports. They're already surfacing. Knicks are, in the market for a trade for a big disgruntled superstar. It's same story, different day.
Right.
So they need to make the plan. I don't know what happened at the end with Kenny Atkinson and the Nets. I'm not going to speculate, but they need a guy in that mold that will say, we will lose, but we're going to lose while developing these young players, because that's what Knicks fans want to see. They've got Scott Perry and Steve Mills, whatever you want to say about them, they found good players in the draft,
Oh, yeah.
Phil Jackson was Frank and Dotson, so you can't, but then, Mitchell Robinson, Kevin Knox, RJ Barrett, and Ignas Brazdeikis. There's talent to be had there. The drafting over the past couple of years has not been bad. They made the big trade for Porzingis, and they have all these picks now. So they have to use them wisely. So they need to commit as a front office, as an organization. They need to commit and say, we're going to do this, because the worst thing they can do right now, I think it's 7 picks over the next 4 drafts, is botch those picks, because then you're going to set back the franchise even more. So you need to say, we're going to develop these young guys, and we're committing on an organizational front to develop these young guys, or trade those assets away. It's not what I want to see, because I think you run, that's a risky game if the superstar doesn't work out. But if they want to do that, bring in those superstars that they want, but it's just got to be united. No more wishy-washy, no more in between for the Knicks.
Right. Yeah. No. And not only that too, it's the embarrassment around, ownership, around, just around the players, around coaching. There's around Charles Oakley, around Spike Lee being, trying to get into a private entrance and just flailing his arms about whatever. It is such a distraction. And not only that too, it hurts the players at times, because, it's just like, you think to yourself, what kind of franchise am I playing for? Am I playing for the, what am I doing? Am I a superstar on E being reported, like just whatever, or on TMZ, with every little thing. And it's just, it's not good. Can I play basketball? It's very difficult. And I know you're also a big soccer guy too. And you, if I'm not mistaken, you're an MLS fan?
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, you're a New York Red Bulls fan.
Yep.
Okay, good. So I'm glad that I do remember. I do remember, again, the people that make an impact on my life, obviously while you're on the show. So kudos to my brain here during all of this that's slowly becoming mush. So you're a big soccer guy on the Primetime Rundown. Actually, on my podcast, my co-host Nick Partain is a diehard NYCFC fan, and he actually
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I know. So I knew you'd say that, and I'll let him know that on Friday. But it was very difficult for him to speak about the Red Bulls and to speak about just generally anything positive about the Red Bulls. But they did go through some change. And
yeah.
and with also NYCFC originally having to move a few games from Yankee Stadium and even Citi Field as well, if those stadiums are not are not available. They actually had to play a couple of games at Red Bull Stadium.
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
right.
Oh
So
yeah.
now with you being a soccer fan and being a Red Bulls fan, more specifically, what I want to hear the other side of I don't want to say argument, but even discussion about the Red Bulls. Do you believe that we could see, first off, MLS returning this year? Number one. Number two, what happens with the Red Bulls, especially because they've gone through major offseason changes?
Well, regarding your first question, MLS, obviously I'm not an insider, so I'm not going to speculate. This is all my personal thought. I'm not putting this out as a matter of fact or anything.
Understood.
I think it helps MLS that their season were 2 games in. So you're not pushing the end. You don't have to try to rush anything. They can do the abbreviated season, but in the same vein and in the same sense, you have to say that MLS is a long season. MLS Cup is played late November, early December every year. I think it's late November, but that's a long season because you're starting in March. They're starting to move it up even into late February. So what hurts them is the long season. I think if they do want to come back, it's going to have to be some type of abbreviated season because at this point you basically lost 2 months of your season. And one thing also that I think needs to be said about sports is that these athletes don't have, and a lot of them probably do have home gyms and private personal trainers and whatnot, but I don't think these athletes are going to be in the best of shape. Like, it's not just going to be like,
Right.
The guidelines are lifted on May 30th, June 1st, we could have games. You're going to need to give these athletes some period to get back into shape, whether it's like a 3 or 4 week training camp or something. So I would expect the MLS to do something like that. Soccer is such a grueling physical game because the games are so long. You're constantly moving, and it's a lot more physical. Like, I'm gonna be that guy. It's a lot more physical than people give it credit for. I understand all the flopping and the diving.
Right.
When you're going up for a header and you get clattered by somebody with no pads, you feel it, and you're constantly planting. It's tough on the knees, stuff like that. So you're gonna need to give these soccer players, MLS and even across the pond, it's going to be even more serious for the European teams because they have a different calendar for their season. Like, the Premier League ends in early May, so you figure that they lost a good portion towards the end of their season. Now, frankly, the championship for the Premier League had basically all but been decided with Liverpool. They'd absolutely ran through the league this year.
Right.
But as you look towards the bottom and you get relegation and promotion, there's millions of dollars on the line between being a club that gets promoted and a club that gets relegated. So if you kind of have that situation where you're not that gray area where you weren't definitively relegated, but you don't play the end of the season and you feel like you were cheated out of the millions of dollars, they call the playoff and the championship game from the championship, the second tier, to the Premier League, the world's most expensive sporting event, because there's that millions of dollars on the line. It means so much for these clubs, and a lot of the lower league clubs it's going to have a huge impact for. And again, bringing it back to MLS, not a lot of these clubs are huge financial mountains right now where they're not necessarily in trouble of losing out and going under. But even in the USL, you have these other teams that aren't necessarily flush with cash, so they're going to do everything they can to try and get this started as soon as possible. I think abbreviated season is probably the way they're going to go at this point. And now, Red Bulls versus NYCFC. Don't think I forgot about that other question, Joey. So the Red Bulls, huge time of transition. You lose Luis Robles, you lose Bradley Wright Phillips. Those are two, franchise icons. Like, they're 31 and 99 are going to be retired someday by the club. Mark my words. You heard it here first. Episode 7, Zoom interview series.
I love it. Yes.
I think when NYCFC came in and, they got the posh, they got the Manchester City backing, City Football Group, they buy David Villa, Andrea Pirlo, Frank Lampard, all these guys. The Red Bulls, I think, became the antithesis of that. And we're like, you know what? We're only going to get guys from our youth academy. And they get Tyler Adams, Brian White now, who's going to be their forward. The Red Bulls seem to only want to get players from their youth academy, which I don't know if that's the best infrastructure either. It's one of the better academies in MLS, but to go fully that route, you're running a fine line. They lost Kamar Lawrence. They lost Michael Murillo. So there's question marks all over the field for the Red Bulls right now. Can Sean Davis be the captain for the team? Like, there's so many questions for this team. So I feel like NYCFC probably a little bit more stable right now. Their new coach is Ronnie Delia, who used to coach Celtic, which is a team I like over there in Scotland. So I would say who can be more optimistic right now? I could say NYCFC, but the Red Bulls, I just feel like, are one of those organizations, and I say this with a grain of salt because they haven't been able to get it done in the big game. A lot of playoff, humiliation, we'll say at this point. But they are that team. Like, I don't know who their comparison is as far as the other big four sports, that they always seem to find a way into the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I just cannot count them out, but they're going to need to figure out the goal scoring. But their back line solid. They still have, Tim Parker, St. John's alum, who's been solid for them, and Aaron Long, and so for the Red Bulls, it's about figuring it out in the attacking third. But I'm optimistic, but I'm not expecting anything big for the Red Bulls this season.
You mentioned from the academy Brian White. I remember in my time with FA Euro, we actually, when we played the Red Bulls Academy in USL League 2, Brian White actually scored 4 goals against us, and obviously quickly elevated to the MLS level after that. But again, playing on the USL League 2 level, some teams it's just in the back line, it's just you could walk right through them. So. Right. Really good stuff. But now that we say this, and now that obviously we've spoken with Brendan about the Red Bulls and Nick Partain's NYCFC, we're gonna have to get you on our podcast one of these days when MLS comes back, so you two can juke it out. And because of the amount of information that the two of you have, and just the knowledge that the two of you guys have, that honestly I like, and I'm gonna be blunt here, I don't have a one hell of a clue about Major League Soccer. Well, so we definitely have to.
Here's the thing, Joey.
We have to get you on, Brendan.
This is what I would say to any NYCFC. Do you know the amount of humiliation it must have took the NYCFC executives to call up the Red Bulls and be like, "Hey, we don't have a soccer specific stadium. We don't have our own place. Can we use your place?" Like, to me, that's just such a like that. As a Red Bull fan, reading that headline, it was from The Athletic. I was so satisfied with that, because you're like, yeah, you can use our soccer specific stadium. We have one of those. Right. And it's just such like a, condescending thing for the Red Bulls to give that. I was happy that they let NYCFC use that stadium.
Right. And you guys will always be, the alpha in terms of soccer in the tri-state area, because it's similar to the Giants, similar to the Rangers, to the Yankees, where they are the alphas, and the Mets, the Jets, and the Islanders are all they're all the little guys. Mm-hmm. So with our little talk winding down here, what I do want to get into quickly, I want to know a couple more things about you. So your favorite broadcaster, go.
That's tough. I got 2. Kevin Burkhardt, that's my guy. A guy that I respect because he did it his own way, wasn't handed anything, worked for everything. I think he's versatile. Play-by-play, studio hosting, he can do everything. Sideline reporting, he's got experience in it all. But also, as a soccer fan, I'm partial to Martin Tyler.
Okay.
I think American, and this is not condescending at all. Like, I mean this is constructive criticism. The way English soccer commentators use words to describe things, I think can be used as a lesson to all young aspiring broadcasters. I mean, imagine watching a game and these announcers are describing passes as delicious and tasty, and it doesn't sound forced. Everything is natural. Everything's so smooth. There's a very smooth style to English soccer broadcasters. So I'd go Martin Tyler. Plus, he was the voice of my favorite game growing up, FIFA. That's what I played a lot. So, I'm just partial to that.
Now, in the time that you have been home, you've been with family, mm-hmm. You've been wherever it is. now I'm assuming at some point, Brendan, television now becomes part of your vocabulary. And whether it be watching old games, whether it be watching highlights or whatever it may be, or literally watching anything, or watching 3 full days of the NFL draft, have you gone away from sports and potentially watched something on Hulu, Netflix, another movie that it's been years, months, days, weeks, whatever it may be, that you finally caught up to?
Somewhere in between. I've been looking to sports that I don't know as much about. I've been watching a lot of boxing fights.
Okay.
Just because of my time at Sirius, I was on the Combat Sports channel, so I garnered an interest for boxing there. I've been watching a lot of Anthony Joshua fights.
Oh,
Kind of a
wow.
guy
Okay.
that I've been taking up. But on Amazon Prime, I just finished up The Americans. It was a pretty recent FX show about Russian spies embedded as Americans in the 1980s during the Cold War. That's really good. If you got Amazon Prime, recommend that. And as for a Netflix thing, again, sticking with the theme of soccer, Sunderland Till I Die. There's 2 seasons. It's about a team, Sunderland FC or AFC. The fans will probably get mad at me. I know you got a big Sunderland fan population listening in, Joey, but just how much soccer and that particular club means to that area. And these people are insane. One thing about soccer is that, like, there's diehard fans in America, but like the way that these clubs are just local and fan controlled and a fabric of the part of the city is something that's very unique. It's very special. And that documentary, it's you follow them across 2 seasons, Sunderland AFC, and how the town's mood and the town's morale kind of goes as they go. It's something unique. It's something special, and I highly recommend it. Even if you're not a soccer fan, you could definitely just be a sports fan, not privy to soccer, and still enjoy that, though.
Yeah, I definitely have to. And it's, and a lot of people have told me actually during this, during this quarantine time, just generally, and it's not, not because they've watched this or anything, soccer related, but, they think about, what's next in life and where they can, could they get to a Super Bowl? Could they get to a World Cup? Could they get to a Manchester City game? Anything, or even to go see Cristiano Ronaldo, whatever it may be. And I've always thought that, you know, a lot of people in my family as well would say, well, why don't you want to go see a Super Bowl? You love American football. Yeah, but I don't know if it's the same as going to a soccer game overseas where you have the supporter section, you have real, genuine, authentic fans. And I'd love to see, and obviously, going to Philadelphia and seeing my Eagles, it's,
Mhm.
those people are absolutely insane.
Right.
But I can't even imagine. Everyone says, and a few people that I know who've gone to Eagles games and have gone to soccer games abroad, it's a completely different dynamic. And that's really something that is, we have to go to. And I'm sure you definitely want to put that on your bucket list when things, ease up.
Oh, absolutely, man. I'm a big Cardiff City fan. They're a Welsh team that actually plays in the English division. So I would love to see a game there just because it's my favorite team. But if you have free time, and you definitely do, because like a minute long video, but you got to look up Will Griggs on Fire, Northern Ireland fans cheering it. It was at the Euro 2016. I think it was 2016. But I mean, the way these fans, you get, probably 8,000 people just in unison chanting Will Griggs. I mean, it makes the hairs on your neck stand up. Like, it's nothing against American fans.
I think we may have lost Brendan here, ladies and gentlemen, just for a quick second. So please bear with us. It looks like that we did lose Brendan just for a quick second. We're going to side, but okay. We did get Brendan back here. I don't know if it was my side or if it was his side. But I do want to ask Brendan. I do apologize. I know I'm sure you were probably talking the entire time while we were not live, but or while we were frozen for a quick second. But if you can actually just repeat from the minute long video part onward. I'm sorry.
No, I heard you the whole time. That's why I was like, what do you mean he doesn't have me? But
yeah.
But
You were frozen.
yeah,
there. Go
that's
ahead.
weird. Sorry about that. I don't know.
No, you're good. You're good. Probably on my end, the usual. Go ahead.
Will Griggs on fire, Northern Ireland. I mean, you just get 8,000 people chanting the same thing. Like, it's just special. Like, I don't like, there's great atmospheres in college basketball and college football, but I just don't think in America we have anything like that. And I think a large majority or a large portion of that is just because there's no real national team for football or for you know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah.
the fact that no matter what club you support, you go to a game for Northern Ireland and everybody's rooting for Northern Ireland there, that you're sitting around. That's one thing they do. And they sit fans by who they're supporting in England. So you get these massive walls of people just chanting the same thing. I mean, it'll make the hairs on your neck stand up. Like, it's special. It's just special.
Yeah, that's really unbelievable. We definitely got to get out there once all of this eases up. One final thing, Brendan, you host Top Shelf, and that is with an old pal, Declan Lang back, and you guys are on Anchor.fm following 3 successful years at WSJU. And I remember when you guys would do this, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Wednesday nights or Wednesdays, right? Yeah, exactly. Good. So again, my brain has not turned into mush, thankfully. So give us a little preview of your next episode. Where could we find you? And give us a little, background information on it.
Yeah, Anchor FM and Spotify still waiting to get approved to go on some of the other, podcast platforms and stuff like that. Declan's a big Eagles fan, so I know we're doing an NFL draft recap. So I know he's been fired up about one particular or two particular picks, but people named Jalen are not his favorite people right now. But so, he'll be fun, but it's just a really fun show to do. We have similar attitudes that we don't take ourselves too seriously. It's a very self-deprecating show. And, it's kind of both of our senses of humor. And I think that's important. Like, I think the second you start taking yourself too seriously and, everything's got to be perfect. And, we want to put out a good quality product. Don't get me wrong. But, just not taking ourselves too seriously. Who we are on that show for, that hour, 15-minute recording is exactly who we are off air. It's basically just, two guys sitting at a bar talking sports. And I think that, something unique, because you don't necessarily have that chemistry with everybody you meet. It doesn't mean it would be a bad show. It's a different kind of a chemistry. It's something unique to what we have.
Right, exactly, and it does not look scripted or anything. You
might listen to it and say these guys need a script. So.
It's all natural that you guys do, which is really fantastic. I have to start listening to your show because really I want to learn. Like I said, I want to learn more about soccer, and I can't think of two guys who live and breathe soccer, and just live and breathe sports in general. So definitely something else that we got to add to the to-do list. Brendan Myers, cannot thank you enough for joining me here on the Primetime Rundown Zoom interview series. It's been a fun hour and 13 minutes, sir.
It has. I can't believe it's already been an hour and 13 minutes. I'm just getting started.
Right? Yeah. It's really, like I said, it's really been a lot of fun, and we continue right where we left off, following our time at WSJU. So again, thank you very much for joining me here. And just a couple of notes, just to close us out here. Our next show, the Primetime Rundown Zoom interview series, episode number 8, will highlight the Chicago Cubs hitting coach Anthony Iapoce. That will be in a cross promotion with the New York Professional Scouts Association. That will be Thursday evening, April 30th. Starting at 6 p.m. Most likely will be about an hour, depending on how he is at home. Also on Friday night, starting at 6 p.m. all the way to 8 p.m., the Primetime Rundown, episode number 24, will be live right here on the Eastern Observer and the Blackjack Media Networks. My guys Tyler Adele and Nick Partain will join me for all-around sports talk. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tune in on Friday night. Again, for Brendan Myers, I'm Joey Jarzynka, and for all of us at the Eastern Observer and the Blackjack Media Networks, we'll see you next time.